So let's take a look at the software on the phone. Now this is running Android 4.4.4 or KitKat, the latest version at the time of filming. So we can swipe to unlock the screen. We get a little different unlock effect than before. So you can see we have our home screen, which again is pretty familiar to Samsung, just with a unique wallpaper for the Alpha series. So we can pinch in and out to see all the available home screens here. So we can slide through them. We can select which one we want to be the home screen right here. We can also add new ones like so. We can rearrange them and we can drag them up here to delete them. We can also go to home screen settings, which allows us to enable or disable the My Magazine effect, or we can go to the transition effect and select which one we want here. Now, what is My Magazine? Well, if you're not familiar with this, all you have to do is swipe all the way to the right and you get to My Magazine, which is fed by Flipboard. So basically, this is a way of aggregating news and information. So in one quick glance, you can see all of the top stories in a certain category. So you can tap on it. So you can see the story, you can swipe through it like so. Of course, you can go back here and you can edit this. So you can go to settings and you can edit the content that feeds in here. So for example, if you like science and technology but not sports, you can click that, and once you go here, it updates for that feed. So for example, I have science and technology here, and I can see stories automatically aggregated into this category. You can also add certain social feeds like Twitter, Google+, or YouTube. Once you've added those and logged in, you'll then see your updates right in My Magazine. Now in terms of these Android keys, you have double tap the home button to activate S-Voice. What's the weather like tomorrow?
The sun will be shining on Friday.
Of course, you could just tap and hold the home button to get to Google Now. What's the weather like tomorrow in Rochester Hills?
Tomorrow's forecast for Rochester Hills is 75 degrees and partly cloudy.
Now we have recent apps here, so you can see we have all our recent apps and we can swipe them out of the way to close them or tap them to activate them. You can also clear them all by tapping this control. And then you can go to active applications here to see how much RAM it's taken up. You can see how much RAM is left here, and you can forcibly end them all this way as well. Now the Recent Apps key also acts as our settings button. So as you can see here, it takes me right to our home screen editor. But of course, if you're in an app, it takes us to the settings for that app, such as the browser right here. Now we also have multi-window mode on this phone. Just tap and hold the back button. It brings up the multi-window tray. So all of these are apps that can be opened side by side, such as Chrome and YouTube. So you can watch some YouTube video while browsing the web. You can resize the windows. You can also tap on that little icon here. So you can close one of the windows, you can flip them around, or you can copy text from one window and paste it in the other. Now you can also drag and drop one app on top of another. That will close that app. You do not have recent apps in each window like you have with some Galaxy tablets. Now you can also modify this panel by going up to Edit, and you can drag and drop apps from the available apps here, or you can remove them if you don't want them in this tray, but there are no limits on how many you can add. Now, if you like to open certain apps side by side frequently, you can go ahead and create a recipe here. So for example, you now have Gmail and Chrome side by side. So in order to launch both apps, all I have to do is tap that instead of opening them one at a time. Now, we also have our drop-down notification panel with all those familiar Samsung quick settings at the top. You can see we also have S Finder and Quick Connect, as well as all of our notifications, which are expandable. You can clear them all. You can also automatically set your brightness or manually control it. Now, S Finder is particularly useful. This allows you to search the entire device for any content. So for example, if you search Android here, so you can see My Files, you can see events in the calendar, you can go to settings, you can go to the web. So for example, if you want to jump to the fingerprint scanner to set it up, all I have to do is start typing in finger, and then as you can see here, I see finger scanner, just tap on it, takes me right to that settings panel. Generally what I prefer to do is train my thumb here in a sideways gesture, because that is normally how I'm holding the phone. So to unlock my device, I just swipe my thumb. Now we also have Quick Connect, which allows us to see nearby wireless devices such as printers, Samsung Smart TVs for broadcasting our display wirelessly, other Samsung devices for file transfers, and that sort of thing. Now as for the quick settings, you can see we have a row up here, but it's limited. To see all of them, you just press up here, or you can use a two-finger gesture to see all of them. You can also modify this, so you can see what appears in the row up here, and you can see what appears when you bring down the two-finger gesture. Now you can modify these just by rearranging them. You can drag and drop them into different locations here. Now you can also reset this back to default if you prefer. So the quick settings are pretty basic. So you have quick things like volume, so you can mute, vibrate, Bluetooth, rotation lock, Wi-Fi, and GPS location. If you tap and hold on any one of these buttons, they take you right to the control panel. Now you can also toggle off NFC, and you can enable something called card mode, which is unique to the Korean market. You can also turn off mobile network data. You also have ultra power saving mode, a feature we're familiar with from other Samsung devices. So if you activate this, right now the battery's at 52%. With ultra power saving mode active, you can see we have about 4.5 days of standby time. So ultra power saving mode shuts down background apps, optimizes performance for battery life. So you can see we have a very simple interface, grayscale screen, and you can add a certain number of apps, very few of them, calculator, clock, Google+, memo app, and the voice recorder. So very limited capabilities here, but you have a phone that will last a lot longer. Now we can also disable multi-window mode. So if you don't want to accidentally trigger that, you can turn it off. We also have that toolbox feature here, which is a little widget that floats in the background here. So as you can see here, it goes into a translucent state when it's not active. You can tap on it and it brings up commonly used apps. Now you can modify this just by tapping and holding on it and going up to edit. So you can see it only gives you 2 apps right now, but you can add up to 5 apps. So I can add Chrome. Let's go ahead and add email, and let's go ahead and add the gallery app and Gmail app. So as you see, I've maxed out, so I have to remove one app to add another. So there we go. We can quickly access Chrome from anywhere we are, and it just floats in the background when we need it. Now we also have screen mirroring. So if we have a compatible device like a Samsung Smart TV, we can wirelessly broadcast the display and audio of this phone directly on our TV. We also have 2 familiar Samsung features, Smart Stay and Smart Pause. Smart Stay prevents the screen from going to sleep if the camera can see the presence of your eyes. Smart Pause pauses playback again if your eyes are averted and resumes it when your eyes reconnect. We also have blocking mode here, which is basically a do not disturb feature with a lot of controls here. You can also select certain times of day for this feature to automatically activate. Now we can also increase touch sensitivity, so basically we can use this phone with gloved hands. Now if we go to our app drawer, you can see the standard array of Google apps, some Samsung apps, and some third-party apps like Flipboard and Dropbox, as well as some of the apps from the telco. So if I want to hide some of these apps or disable them, I have several options here. So for example, I can see uninstall or disable apps. So only certain apps are eligible for this, for uninstallation or disabling. So for example, I have this telco app here, which I don't want. I can disable it. I can't uninstall it. It disappears. So as you can see here, some of them I can't do anything with. So all I have to do instead is hide them. So if I go up here, I can go to hide apps and select the apps I want to hide here. So let me find them again, like so. Click done and they disappear from view. Now, of course, I can also create folders within the app drawer here. So for example, I can go ahead and start adding items. So I can start adding just Google apps here. So I have an app folder here, which is on its own separate page just for foldered items. So I can name it, I can change the color and that sort of thing. So I can drag and drop this to the home screen. As you can see here, I can drag and drop it to one of the home screens in this little previewer down at the bottom. Drag and drop it and you're good. And of course, if you want to remove it, just take it up to remove. Now, if you take a look at the settings panel, again, pretty familiar with most of the same features from other Samsung devices. As you can see here, you have this icon view, but you can also go to a list view, which I find a little more useful. We also have easy mode, which simplifies the user interface for certain users. I call this grandma mode. So if you select it, it's basically a different launcher. It simplifies the home screen, puts the major apps on the home screen, along with quick access to a magnifier and an LED flashlight, as well as adding your contacts right to the home screen. Now under the settings panel, under motion, we have air view, which is a feature that's toggled off by default. But basically this allows you to hover your finger over the display to bring up some information without actually touching the display. So for example, when you're looking at your photo gallery, the gallery expands out for you. Or if you're looking at a thumbnail, that expands out for you. It only works with certain Samsung apps. Now, under motions and gestures, again, you'll find standard Samsung stuff such as direct call. So if you're looking at a contact, when you raise the phone to your ear, it automatically calls them. Smart alert, if you pick up your phone and you have a notification pending, it vibrates for you. Mute pause, basically put your hand over the device or flip the device over and it'll pause or mute your alarms or playback. You also have palm swipe for screen capture. So you can swipe your palm across the screen, it does a little screen grab for you. Now, if you look at our storage, you can see just how much space is left over. So you can see how much the system is taking up, about 6.18 gigs. And then you can see some of the space I've already used, which is filled up with some 4K video recordings and some photographs, as well as a few apps downloaded. But you can see just how much space you have left after 32 gigs. Now, again, the display is 4.7 inches Super Amoled with a pixel density of 312. Now, this seems to be one of Samsung's sub-pixel displays, so it's not as sharp as I'd like to see at 312 pixels per inch. It should seem a little clearer. But again, Super Amoled gives you very bright, vivid colors with deep contrast, so it's great for watching movies. It's also pretty good outdoors.